I went to Old Dominion College, 65 to 67, and I had been through my pre-induction physical, and I was rated 1S, which meant I was in good physical shape, but in school. So I had to go to the draft board at the end of the semester, show my grades. I had to go at the beginning of the next semester and show where I was going back to school. They were hot on, the draft was pretty hot in 66, 67. So after 2 years, I left Old Dominion, and I told my dad, they're going to get me, I'm going to go enlist, I want training. So I knew the Navy had for 6 years, you could sign up for 6 years for their advanced electronics program. That's what I wanted. So I went down to the recruiter and joined the Navy. And then I found out that because I didn't go back and show them where I was going back to school, I got my draft notice while I was in boot camp. So I was thankful that I was able to get the training I wanted, and I went back to Old Dominion after the Navy and got the rest of the electronics, and it was really good for me. Yeah, I was on the USS Saratoga CV-60. We were out of Mayport, Florida. We had finished our type training, came in on a Friday in 72, April of 72. We were immediately recalled to the ship and loaded supplies until Tuesday, and at that time we headed for Vietnam. We went down around Africa, sailed up to the Philippines, and once we got there, we went right to work. We went up into the Tonkin Gulf, and when we were up in the Tonkin Gulf, there were 3 carriers up there, up north, and 2 of the carriers always had planes in the air, doing strikes. There were 3 different shifts. One was like 12 o'clock to midnight, and I don't remember the other ones. But we would launch planes at noon. An hour and a half later, we would launch more planes and recover the planes from the first launch. And that would go on until midnight would be our last launch. An hour and a half later, we would recover those planes. So I worked on the radar. I was responsible for the radar that landed the planes on the carrier. And so when we were launching planes, I was always in CATSI, where the air controllers worked, to take care of any problems that might pop up. And we would work the shift, and then after the shift was over, you had to go take care of any problems that did occur. I did a lot of alignment on the radar that landed the planes. It was an automatic landing system. It was pretty much in its infancy, and we had to keep it tuned up. But it worked fine. But so we would be out to sea in the Gulf doing launches for usually about 30 days. One time we hit 45 days. Back into the Philippines for 4 days, and then back to the top, back out to the Gulf and do it again. So that's pretty much the way it went. The cruise was between 10 and 11 months. It took probably 20-some days to get over there, 20-some to get back. I'm not sure. I don't remember. It's been almost 50 years. But it was, for us on the ship, it was like working a job. The pilots are the guys that were the real heroes there. They were the ones that went out and did the dirty work. We would have to go to general quarters on occasion, but the pilots always took care of anything that was coming our way. And that's pretty much the way it went for the whole cruise. We did have 1 fire on the ship, lost a couple people, we lost an engine room. But other than that, we won a flight deck safety award. The flight deck is an accident waiting to happen. And we had a real good record up there. I think we had a couple people, the jets blew them off the fantail there, but there was a life net there they got caught in, so we didn't lose anybody that way. We did lose a number of pilots. I think we lost about 14 aircraft during the cruise, but it was just long hours. Like doing it, for us, like doing a regular job. We never did go ashore in Vietnam. We got close enough to the gun line where the ships were firing in just to see, the flashes from the guns. But that's as close as we got to being, in Vietnam. Our time was spent up in the Tonkin Gulf. And with all those launches, at the end of each day, the captain would come on the 1MC speaker system on the ship and give us an update. And I'll tell you, pretty often we dropped over 100 tons of explosives. And there were 2 carriers doing that 24 hours a day. I don't know how anything was left over there. I believe they were limited as to what they could bomb, I believe. And but it was there was a lot of explosives. The second deck, the mess deck's second deck, there was fore and aft. They closed the forward mess decks, and that's where they assembled the bombs. They would take everything they were going to use for the upcoming strike and put it on the flight deck on the starboard side of the island, between the island and the catwalk. And that's unfortunately, my general quarter station was directly below that. So, but like I said, anything that came our way, the fighters took care of. All the planes took care of that stuff. Well, we got back from Vietnam in February, and not too much longer after we got back, the ship came back up to Portsmouth Yards for an overhaul. So I spent the last probably 6 months in the Portsmouth Yards, and we were overhauling the radars that we worked on. We had a building by the dry dock where we would take chassis to clean them and everything. And that's the way I was in from September 27th, 67 to September 27th, 73. 6 years to the day, and